To win, you have to be the first, you have be the smartest, or you have to cheat. But given that I for sure not the smartest, or I don't cheat, it's good to be the first.
Our featured speaker today is the founder and CEO of Eureka Solutions, a startup focused on the development and implementation of cost-effective technologies for developing economies. He also started Solar Ecuador Organization, which offers education on solar technology alongside custom solar solutions for rural areas. He's a blockchain and AI enthusiast with interests ranging from clean energy to data science and has a passion for social entrepreneurship. It's our pleasure to welcome you, Danilo, and we'd love to hear what you're ready to share with us today. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Nancy. Also, thank you for the invitation, Spencer and Nancy. I have been in these discussions for like almost 2 months. Thanks for inviting me. It has been really rewarding to hear stories about other entrepreneurs in the community. Let me start my story by telling you why I decided to go to the engineering school. This is also a story about me being stubborn. I remember that at the end of high school, I had my group of friends and I had this idea because we were so young, we need the support from technical experts. And they told us that it was not feasible. So that's why I decided to pursue a degree in engineering because I want to build the solutions by myself. After 4 years, I got my degree in electrical engineering, telecommunications, and computer networking. After a month, I started to work Huawei Technologies, which at that time was not the biggest name, the behemoth that is today. It was a small company that behaved more like a startup. I started like an engineer and I had the opportunity to design and code the equipment. I code the equipment at a low level. And I pretty much was in data centers and sites managing the installation. I achieved to install many equipments for the connectivity of my country, my home country in Ecuador. And I used to talk directly with China at nights. That was something new for me because of the difference in time. We need to talk with them at night. It was very interesting. It was very exciting for me because I had the opportunity to try new technologies. Huawei Technologies was open to that because Ecuador was a small market, a very diverse market. So new technologies, they were like to test first in our nation, and then later they could try to deploy in Brazil, Argentina, or Mexico. I later was promoted to a senior position. Then I started to design solutions and making sense of the financial side of the things. It was not only for projects in my home country. I started to manage projects from the northern region of Latin America. Consider this like Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, and Central America. It became more about business, about developing my soft skills, about negotiation. At that time, we became the second largest telecom supplier in the world. And Huawei started to behave more like an established business than a startup. That was the thing that I really love about it. So by that time, I decided that it was better for me to pursue my own ambitions, my own needs, to build solutions that I consider were the better for the society. So at that time, I left Huawei Technologies and I had the opportunity. I found Origo in Ecuador in 2015. 8 or 10 months later, I had this amazing opportunity to be accepted at the MIT bootcamps. The project that I have been working on is the solar card. That is the one that you are seeing in the presentation by Spencer. And it was based on a novel solar technology. It is called the thin film solar. The good thing about it is not like the solar panels that are made of glass. This is very light and is commonly used on the spaceships. It's used by NASA so they can put the solar panels in the satellites because they don't weigh too much. I went with this idea. And the thing about MIT is that I got honest feedback from everyone. And I remember particularly meeting that I had with Elaine Cheng. She was one of the mentors. She was one of the people that was going to provide you a feedback about your idea. And she was very honest with me. She told me, it's nice, but I don't see a business here. And it was true because I didn't thought about the revenue model. So that for me was the first step in understanding that it was not only using a new technology, a novel technology, but also understanding how you are going to bring it to the market. MIT also gave me the opportunity to have a diverse team. I learned about, I made many friends, and my team particularly was very diverse because there was Tony that was from Peru, was Hisham that was from Egypt, Judy that was from the UK, and Hala and Ahmad that were from the Saudi Arabia. It was for me MIT a lesson humility because there I see that there is a lot of smarter people than me there. There is very bright people there. Going back to the things that I thought in high school, I noticed that I cannot do everything. I have to trust in people that are experts in their fields to take the better decisions for my projects and for my business. Later, I had also the opportunity in 2016 also to be selected to participate in Wildlife is Young Leaders of the Americas, a program created by President Obama. And I had the opportunity to go to Texas, to Austin. It was also an incredible experience because it is a thriving entrepreneurial system, but it's quite different from Boston. I also create connections there and understand how we can relationate between developed nations and underdeveloped nations, how we can create opportunities. I think the main lesson that I learned there is that this phrase that talent disperses worldwide, but sadly opportunities are not, is true. And we need to work together between the first world nations and underdeveloping nations to create opportunities worldwide. Otherwise, the migration problem is becoming bigger because we cannot expect that everybody needs to go to Europe or the United States to have financial security. For that, also, I met people that were making great innovation in social entrepreneurship. And that's where I became passionate about it. And that's when I moved the target from Origo, the objective, and not focus only on a product or not focus only on a technology, but focus more on a passion about using technology as a tool for good, to value talent besides anything, and build solutions that are useful on the developing nations and also for first world nations. This is a report that was from 2020 that shows how people in different parts of the world see the companies, the organizations. And it's based in two things. It's competence, is how they are delivering on promises, and their ethical behavior, doing the right thing and working on improving the society. As you can see, the only organization that is seen as ethical are the non-government organizations, the non-profit. Government has the lowest score. The media is seen as less competent and unethical, and business are seen like very competent but not so ethical. So one of the main objectives that I have in my business in Origo is to become a business that can be seen as a competent, delivering on promises, and being seen as ethical. I think this is achievable. For evaluating a business, we not only consider the profit, we not only consider the money, but we consider a wide range of aspects in our society. The environmental effects, the social good that it's doing, and many other factors that affect a business in their relationship with the society. Right now, we are working in providing solutions. Besides that, I spin off the solar card into a business, into a nonprofit organization that is called Solar Ecuador, in which we provide solar education to technicians in my country so they can learn about how to install equipment, providing equipment at a very good price with almost no profit. But the idea is to promote green technologies in the country. And Origo, right now, we are working with our partners in the US to develop solutions based on the cloud technologies to upgrade legacy systems. That means that systems that were using like Windows-based, very old. So we are operating to go to the cloud. And in that way, we are using talent, local talent, so they can have also financial security while working with technology. Pretty much that's it about my story. For me, I mean, this journey has been a great experience. I have met great people. I am very grateful for this and also for the invitation. So I don't know if you have any questions that I can answer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking us through all of that. One of the things that I personally like to sort of ask about during these talks is about the experience growing up and some of your early life events and mentors that influence you towards your entrepreneurial path. Would you be able to sort of go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think the mentors are, for me, I haven't had the opportunity to have a mentor per se by the name, in which it's somebody that I admire and that they provide me with all the tools that I need to become a better entrepreneur. But I think many of my old bosses provided me with good feedback about what should I do to get success. Also, I think that you can find very good advice in the books you read. I read a lot. I think one of the best books so you can become a great CEO, the one that I think everybody should read. The Hard Thing About Hard Things, in which he clearly says that no CEO is going to give you advice because you learn along the way. It's a path in which you only have to take decisions based on the information that you got at the time and experimenting every time. So, yes, pretty much, I think the most information that I got have been from books, and also, I have to be honest, from people in my community, from the MIT, you guys, and also from the wildlife, because I see the things you are doing. I try to understand the decisions you are making, the projects you are going, and in that way, I try to learn how I can be better as an entrepreneur. I also remember one time I had this boss. We were in sales. He was very disciplined. Right? That's also the title of the book, Disciplined Entrepreneurship. Because as an entrepreneur, you like it or not, you will have to make sales and you have to be very disciplined. And you will have to take bad feedback and continue and move on. And the feedback, if it's good or bad, you have to take it, understanding, analyze it, and improve your product and yourself. About that, let me see, now that we are sharing the books that I like. There are two very goods that are from Clayton Christensen, Innovator's Dilemma, and also How Will You Measure Your Life? The last one is very good because it talks about his life, his problems, everything that he did to become a successful professor at Harvard Business School. Also, a very good book is The Algebra of Happiness by Scott Galloway. It's very good because it provides you with feedback about what you should do in life. And he talks about a very good concept. It's about grounding. And this concept of grounding is that sometimes in life, as entrepreneur, we get so much into the problem, so much into the hype, so much away from reality. That is good to have something, someone that gives you this grounding. He talks that for him it was his child that remembered him that it was human, he was human, that every one of us can have someone that remember us that we can have issues, problems, failure, and that's very good for all of us because sometimes maybe we are too focused on the solution. We are thinking about only the business, but we need somebody for this concept of grounding. Bad Blood, I think many of you have already read that book. It's about the hype in Silicon Valley that can be very dangerous for entrepreneurs because we need to think that everything has to be perfect. We need to be number one to be escalate faster. It's a very good book about what the thinking of being so successful can lead you to become a corrupt person and lie. Lastly, the two are the Talking to Humans. This was a required reading for the bootcamp, but it's important to reread that book because it shows you how you should interact when you are talking with your ideas to people and how you can use the feedback that they are giving to you. And lastly, I think we receive an invitation, all of us, from MIT Horizon. They every month they publish very good books about cutting edge technology, about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, blockchain. Very good readings. And they are fast, like 20 minutes. Introduction to IoT, things like that. I share all the books in the questions and discussions. If you can check it later, if you're not read that books already.
Thank you so much for sharing the books that have influenced you. That's a wonderful list, and I really appreciate the variety of viewpoints that are represented there. I really liked that point that our cultural upbringing can really shape our approach and our ability to look at and the best way to do things. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your philosophy or the process that you go through in selecting teammates for your projects and for your company, because I think that's pretty relevant to a lot of us.
The good thing about working with tech is that in any part of the world, the engineer is going to be like not the most extrovert guy. They are going to be like more introverts and thinking about technology. They are going to want to go to a computer to program. They are going to go to build things. They are not going to be the ones that talk too much. So in my experience, that is true for engineers in South America, North America, Europe, and in the Middle East and China. So that's the good thing. So it's easy for me because it's like when you are talking with engineers, you know what to expect. Later, it's all about communications, the channels of communications that you build in your company, who is reporting to who. And in that way, you can learn more about what's happening. For example, if you're including a new staff from China into your team and they have some traditions, you have to have a channel in which you can learn what is happening. And based on that, you can take decisions. Let me give you an example. For example, we used to have people coming from China coming to Ecuador. And the people from China, I don't know why, that's something that I never learned. They don't use deodorant, they don't use perfumes, and they don't tend to take a shower every day. I think they take a shower maybe every week. When the Chinese staff were coming to our team, to the office, the local staff was very like angry because they complained that this Chinese staff didn't smell good. It was something that affected their productivity. So in that way, we need, but we cannot go and attack this guy because that's the way he used to do the things in China. So what we did was talking with him, explaining him what we used to do in our country, and in that way he understand that you have to adapt to the workplace that you are going. This happens a lot because also the way that people speaks is different. So some people even might get offended because you can think I am speaking, I am being direct, I am being honest, but the other one can feel like you are being rude, and this can destruct the team, can affect the team. So in that way, that's important that you have to have communication, and you have to also, as a leader, that you understand how different cultures work. Talk with your early employees, with the first employees that you are bringing to the company, and explaining them that you are a globalized company and you cannot take conclusions in advance. You have to first understand, particularly if the staff is new, is coming from a different culture, or if it's remote. Right now, for example, we are having a lot of issues by communicating by text because in text, you cannot express emotions. So you might want to say something in a way, but the other people that is reading the text is interpreting that in a different way. So that's why it's important to not go to conclusions, to not get offended as soon as you can, but try to clarify, try to communicate, and try to understand what is happening. Voice, video are the better ways to communicate, but right now we communicate via emails, via chat. We need, as I told you, to explain the early employees, the managers, how you have to be empathetic about the team, not jump to conclusions, not start discussions, not start problems, but trying to communicate better to understand what the other people is trying to say.
I think that's such an excellent point. There's so many differences between culture that we need to be able to understand. At times, you do have to be able to explain to each other without upsetting anyone. This is something that needs to be a little bit different in this particular scenario, whilst treating everyone with, a level of mutual respect, of course.
Hi there. If you're enjoying this podcast, would you mind leaving us a review, a like, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform? Thanks so much. That really helps our reach. The Founders Voyage podcast is now proudly sponsored by VidOps. Kane at VidOps has been taking care of our editing since early 2024. He works efficiently, and I'm sure you'll agree that he does a great job. Thank you to VidOps for helping bring this podcast to life. If you want the same great support we're getting for your podcast, or you need help with video, photography, or animation, you can get 10% off at vidops.io using our referral code Voyage. That's vidops.io, referral code Voyage. Now back to the show.
Just to sort of transition this a little bit to a more technical area, I was hoping to ask about is about energy. So obviously, energy is so important to all cultures and nations throughout the world, but many of the solutions we have access to are causing damage to the world we live in. Do you believe solar is the best long-term solution? And are there any other technologies that you are excited about, and why?
Solar is a very good solution. The good thing about solar is that it's becoming cheaper every year. It has like an exponential reduction in price. So that's very good. Now it's in the US, it's very affordable. The problem with solar is that in some parts of the world, you cannot have sun the entire year. And also some materials of the cheapest solar panels are not so environmentally friendly. There is no It's very difficult to find a solution that's perfect for the environment, that is cheap. It's very difficult to do that, and I think that's true for almost everything that we do. There are trade-offs that we need to consider. Solar, I like it because it provides a sense of autonomy for the people that use it. Something that, let me talk about what's happened this week in Texas. You see, you have these interconnected systems, and when the connection fails, or you don't have connection with other side, they cannot provide you with energy. It's very difficult. If some accident happens and the transmission networks of the electricity falls, you are going to lose energy until somebody comes and build the network again. So that's the good thing, particularly in South America, maybe in Asia, you can build your solar system and you can be autonomous. You don't have to pay for the energy. There are new technologies that I am really excited about, based more in hydrogen, fission, not fusion. That's the holy grail, I think, the fission of the atoms, that it doesn't have the problems that we have in the nuclear plants today. That will produce more energy. The issue also with solar is that the efficiency also is not so high. I think in the best case, maybe we can reach to 40, 50% of the efficiency. That means the amount of sun that comes and compared with the amount of energy that we get is not so good also. So I think there are going to be different kind of solutions depending on where you live to provide you with energy, in that way being more sustainable and more environmental friendly. But we are going to see, I hope, now with machine learning, artificial intelligence, I think the development of materials that can help us to produce energy is going to increase in the next decade. I expect to see more efficient solutions in the future.
I appreciate you sharing that. And the Texas point is obviously pretty relevant to those of us in the US thinking about our friends and family there. I kind of want to make this into a two-part question. I really appreciate that that Solar Ecuador aims to pair education on solar technology, with the self-installation kits. But I know that change is complicated. So, with behavior change, even when you're presented with the information and the physical elements you need to implement something that will greatly benefit you, there can still be big mental barriers to adoption. And then personally, I feel the issue in Texas is that. And then there's also policy issues. And I'm not even talking about the motivation that's driving both of those things. But I was wondering, have you encountered barriers in, shifting behavior patterns, in the communities you're trying to serve? And have you also encountered some policy issues, and how have you dealt with those?
Yeah, pretty much it's very difficult, I think, for all entrepreneurs to find a good government policy already in place that will help you. I think in the US and California did a very good job in providing incentives for green energy and also for electric cars. But that cases are rare. The government is always like behind what's happening in the world. And yes, change produce friction in the society because not only in society but in business and everywhere, because people is sometimes no most of the time is afraid of change because they see like a threat in there. That's something that I see happening in the US. Like you already have your electrical networks established and you have something working on. So why should I care to do something else, even though that I see the benefits, all of that. But the good thing about Solar Ecuador in Latin America is that you don't have that. You have a unreliable network, electric network. You don't have electricity, maybe. You build a home by yourself because the government doesn't care. So you build a home by yourself, and that home doesn't have electricity. So the best thing you can do is going solar. And going solar is going to be the only way that you can get energy. I am guessing because I'm not familiar with that, that this is a reality also in other parts of the developing world in which they see opportunity here because it's not only the person that is installing the roof, it's also the technicians that live in that community, in that city, that will learn a new skill and they can offer new services to different customers in the same city. That's a good thing, particularly for me in developing solar in my country and in the developed nations. But also it has a dark side, that is that the government puts tariffs, put taxes, doesn't provide you with incentives. So in that way, the best thing you can do is to look for solutions that can be affordable, that can match the needs of your customer. Always ask, going and to a financial institution, to a bank, and ask, can you provide me with credit? Can you provide my customer a credit so they can acquire this? And in that way, you can try to solve at least the problems you can. The first thing is trying to provide the customer a good solution for the problem they have, doing the most that you can.
Thank you, Danilo. I think one of the, as you say about like regulation and all the different sort of complexities to these things, it's always difficult to sort of understand them, especially when you're first learning about the different options available. I did want to ask you a little bit because I know that you're blockchain enthusiast, which I am as well. But I'd be fascinated to hear sort of your perspective on, in the longer term, what value you think blockchain can give to people in general, especially if you think there's any connections to energy or data science.
There are projects in which they are integrating blockchain with solar. Is actually a project in New York in which you have different homes, they have different solar roofs, and they are selling the energy between each other so they can make a grid to provide the energy for that part of the city. And they were trying with blockchain because you need to know from which part came that energy. So the best way to be fair to build this solution was to use blockchain. I don't remember the solution. I think I can share it later. Blockchain is going to provide us with a transparency framework in which we can build many solutions. I am excited about what's happening in the financial sector because that's going to help many of the people, unbanked people in the world. It's going to provide opportunities for economical growth. But also, I think blockchain has applications in many. I think maybe all the business sectors can be affected by blockchain. One of the things that also excite me a lot is one initiative from UNICEF. Yeah, you can look for this in the web. They have these initiatives in which they want to help kids using blockchain technology. And one of the solutions that they want to implement is using blockchain to identify refugees, immigrants that leave their countries and they don't have a global identifier. They don't have a global passport. So you might be able to use blockchain so they can, for one side, have their IDs, and on the other hand, you can give them money because this identifier is going to be unique. Uh, I think blockchain is going to offer a lot of opportunities, as I told you, even in the Internet of Things sector. It's going to help us to implement better solutions for 5G also, because it gives you transparency. In anything you are building, it gives you transparency. And that's something that lately we need a lot about.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that. And I appreciate your take and sort of how you're linking that to what you're already doing. I was actually also curious. I know you've worked in data science a lot, and I know that Arigo Solutions does cloud computing solutions. And I was wondering how that works in developing economies and how you picture that evolving.
Yeah, pretty much this was an effort that I made after I came from the United States, from the wildlife program. The idea is that the market, the Ecuadorian market, it's quite small. So you cannot build solutions for enterprises, software solutions, take advantage of all the talent that you have here. So the idea is that we offer our service worldwide in the US, Europe. We have a recent customer in Canada. What we do basically is help these companies to migrate to the cloud. It means that they may be using Excel, Microsoft Excel, they may be using legacy software for their business. So what we do is get all this software and build application in the cloud, something like use Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud to build the solutions in which they can access, they can use these new applications with a new benefit, like you don't have to pay license anymore. You use only what you only pay about what you use. In that way, we are using local talent like from South America. We're providing the service worldwide. I mean, for business in Ecuador, in United States, in Canada, whatever. The idea is that the people that is working with me learn about this, and we create solutions also for the customers, because every project is different and we learn new things, because also cloud computing is affecting many other business sectors, different many business sectors, and we learn from each one of our customers. In that way, we have a larger market. We don't have these limitations about technology not being so widely adopted in our countries. But we have customers that already have an issue, already have a problem, and we are going to offer them solutions. We are going to offer them alternatives.
Thank you so much. One of the things that we've asked a couple of the guests recently is about sort of the challenges and silver linings that have been brought about as a result of the pandemic. Can you talk about how your business has been affected and any sort of difficult decisions you faced as a result?
I think that for the tech sector was exactly the opposite. It was because while the retail industry was falling, when the quarantine came up, everybody went digital. So we have more work to do. We have more opportunities. That was good. What's not good is that, in fact, you have neighbors, you have friends that they lost their jobs, but they don't have like the skills that you can come and say, "Come on, work with me and do this." So for me, also has been also important now to see in which ways we can retrain working staff, the people, so they can learn more about digital technologies. They can learn how to program. They can learn about more technology, the internet, and that's also I think is going to be a change for the next decade. Not only in South America but North America and Europe, because many people, and I am including in that group, we will need to learn more about not only software, but we need to learn more about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we will need training, not the traditional kind of training. We need a fast training, a practical training in which we can apply directly what we learn and get jobs. Lastly, because I think I was already like working with my purpose, I didn't feel too much like what I am doing with my life. I was feeling good. I'm always trying to make the things that I think are the best, the people that I know, for the people that I think they need. This effect, this COVID effect, is only enhancing that sense of making something with purpose, not caring only about the money, not caring about the profit, but making things on purpose. If you know a customer that cannot afford your solution, maybe you can reduce something some profit. But you know that they are going to implement the solution and they are going to increase their sales, to keep their business open.
I really appreciate that, and I think that that's really admirable that you already felt you had that sense of purpose going into the pandemic. I've shared with a couple of people that I feel like I kind of had to find mine at the beginning of this, just sort of hone in on what it was, and I love that that seems so clear for you. So we often finish these conversations with a question that I'd like to give to you. What do you think has been the best lesson or takeaway from your journey so far, or some words of wisdom that someone's passed to you that you might want to leave us with?
I was thinking about that, to be honest. I picked three phrases that I received. The first one is that I got from Erdin. Erdin was was the creator of all of this, the bootcamps. We were in about party. I think it was the end of the bootcamp, and he knew that I was from South America, that I speak Spanish, and he told me English is for making business, French is for talk with your lover, and Spanish is the language that you talk to God. And for me, that was like, wow, that's nice for you. But later on, I understand that, yeah, you have to have this multicultural knowing about your life. The other phrase is the one that to win, you have to be the first, you have be the smartest, or you have to cheat. But given that I for sure not the smartest, or I don't cheat, it's good to be the first. And it applied a lot of times in my journey. You go be the first that is trying the new application, the new thing. It's going to help you a lot because you are already at the beginning of the game. So yeah, that are maybe the most remarkable lessons that I got in my journey. I have a lot more, and I am very thankful for that.
I love that, and I 100% agree with that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that you shared with us today. I feel like I know you a little bit better, and we have lots to continue to talk about. Thank you to everyone that was able to join us today. Spencer and I feel really fortunate to be part of this community and to be able to have these sorts of discussions each week. So please let us know if you have any suggestions for making them better. And please feel free to, at your leisure, listen to some of the past recordings and let us know what you think. And I've personally found it really helpful to go back and listen to some of them myself. We hope that you all have a wonderful day, evening, and week ahead.
Thank you so much, Danilo.
Thank you for inviting me.
You've just finished another episode of Founders Voyage, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. The team at Founders Voyage wants to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed your time with us, and if so, please share this with someone else who might enjoy this podcast. You can also support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and by donating to our Patreon. Outro music today is Something for Nothing by Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band.